Well, before we get started with Let's Get Surety's episode, we wanted to share, we had recorded this episode a little while back, and we found that before the coronavirus hit and the pandemic, everything that's going on and has gone on with that, we just found that with the impact to the economy and more project crisis issues than we've had in the past, this episode was even more relevant than ever, as we're addressing what can happen with a project and how to bring a project back on track and make a success out of something that's gone awry. So let's get on with the show.
You're listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hi, it's Kat Shamapande. I got Aldo Pasquarello. He's the Executive Vice President at Insurance Associates, an MMA company. Is that right, Aldo?
That's right. That's a mouthful. Sorry about that, Kat.
Oh, it's all right. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me down.
We're excited to talk to you today about a project you did on a local school, or you worked with on a local school.
Sure. Gaithersburg High School.
Yeah.
It was a high school that was opened in August of 2013. Construction started in probably the summer of 2011. A brand new high school, 420,000 square feet for Montgomery County Public Schools, which is one of the main school systems in the area. And so the project got underway, as I said, in the summer of 2011. One of our customers had the mechanical package for that project, C&H Mechanical.
Okay.
And about 6 or 7 months into the project, C&H started having some problems. We started seeing some warning signs. There was some rumblings of bills not being paid, some rumblings of getting a little bit behind schedule.
Yeah.
And then the general contractor that C&H was working for was a company called Hess Construction. And they are a big school, one of the larger local school builders in the area. Montgomery County Public Schools, one of their premier clients.
Okay.
And we also handled their surety bonding as well. So
you wrote the bonds for the contractor as well as the subcontractor.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay.
And so we actually we started hearing some rumblings from the Hess construction side about C&H falling behind. They actually didn't even know that they were our customer at the time. So. And at that point, we kind of knew in early 2012 that there was a serious problem that was going on. C&H was struggling financially, and Hess was very concerned that the job, one of their critical path subs was not going to be able to perform.
Well, and you said their primary client was the school system.
Correct.
So for them, that would be a really big deal, to say the least.
Yeah, because there's a lot of eyes on them, and this was this was I think at the time was the largest brand new high school that they'd ever constructed.
Wow, yeah, and a school is a really public project. I mean,
oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. You got all eyes watching. Obviously, you have public funds. You've got parents in the community that will cause a lot of noise.
I've been at some PTA meetings.
They can be fun.
That's one way to put it, Aldo. Yeah. So it is just really public.
Correct.
Yeah. And a major client.
Major
contractor.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So anyway, trying to think. So then we got involved. I think where we helped. We were fortunate in that we knew both the subcontractor and the general contractor.
So you had some knowledge that you wouldn't have had you not known both pretty well. And
correct.
Yeah.
So the next steps then were to get Hartford involved. We encouraged C&H to contact Hartford directly. A lot of times with surety claims, both parties there's the posturing and they wait and it's like, and then the next thing is firing off letters and all the formal notices. And we tried to take a very informal approach at first because at the end of the day, this school had to open August of 2013. And we had Hess breathing down our necks saying, guys, this is our number one client with their number one project. And we have the critical path sub and we don't think they're going to make it. Now, C&H is our customer, so we have to hear their side of the story. We don't just believe what the general contractor is telling us. But with the knowledge that the insight that we had, we were able to pretty quickly figure out that C&H probably was not going to be able to finish that job without some help. And so we encouraged them to reach out to the Hartford and basically, voluntarily tell them, listen, we've got some problems, and then start that dialogue with the Hartford.
So they reached out independently?
Yes, they did.
Okay, great.
Before there was any kind of formal default notice or formal claim notice from Hess.
Okay.
And there was a kickoff meeting with Steve Spencer, who's the president of the agency, Gary Judd, who worked for the Hartford, he was the claim rep, and Chris Carpenito, who was the executive vice president of Hess Construction, was kind of taking the lead on this particular aspect of dealing with the surety company from Hess's perspective. And we had a kickoff meeting, and that was in, I want to say, early November.
Okay.
And then over the next 30 days, Hartford was doing their due diligence, and they came to the conclusion that CNH was not going to have the resources to be able to finish the job, and they were going to need to be replaced.
Okay.
And then so the next step was the county. Again, it's a public entity, so you've got to work within their procurement rules. Although you've got the bond guiding the process, and the surety has their rights under surety law. And they ended up working to the county. They interviewed. They came up with 3 subcontractors to work with Hartford, and got 3 subcontractor bids from local mechanical contractors. To bid on the completion of the work, and they ended up hiring a firm out of Rockville, Maryland, Shapiro and Duncan, to finish the job on behalf of CNH. And that was done on a cost plus basis, which is a little uncommon a lot of times because the fear of the surety company is, well, if I let the work on a cost plus basis, I'm going to get taken advantage of by the completion contractor.
Okay, yeah.
And so that, but again, with one of the big aspects of this job was the fact that this was all happening now in spring, late winter, early spring of 2012. Schools got open August of 2013. And the contractors
kids need classrooms.
No, they do. That's mommy and daddy aren't happy when the kids don't have anywhere to go, right, on the first day of school.
That is very true.
And so Shapiro and Duncan's approach was, listen, we're not gonna overspend your money. And talking to the Hartford and MCPS, but they're basically saying, if for us, what we need to do, which is at that point in time, that job was should have been 70% complete, and it was only about 35% complete. Oh,
wow.
Yeah. So they had a lot of catch up. So they needed to ramp up quickly.
Yeah.
And anyway, they probably helped that they also had worked in a lot of Montgomery County Public School.
So they're
projects.
Kind of
familiar. And, at the end of the day, the surety company, I'm not an attorney, but I do believe that, under most claim situations, the surety company ultimately has the right to hire the contractor that they feel is the right one that they want to hire.
For the project, yeah.
But knowing that they are obligated to Hess and the ultimate owner, which is MCPS,
right?
I think that Hartford saw that having a replacement contractor that is somebody that MCPS knew would probably help calm them down a little bit. That okay, we're in a bad spot here, but at least we think this is going to be. We
see a light.
Correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, and that so I think that by that fall of 2012, they felt that they had pretty much caught up and gotten the mechanical portion of the project back on schedule. It wasn't complete, but at that point, kind of Kesh, if you think about what I said before, that should have been at 70, at 35. They were back there by that fall. So that was pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So the project was just kind of going off the rails.
Absolutely.
But what was the importance, do you think, of having the producer in there? How important is the role of the producer in that? Because this could have gone a much different way.
It could have. Probably sounds a little self-serving, but I would say I do think that, being a career surety agent, but, what helped was we sort of were able to be that kind of independent sort of listener counsel to both CNH and to Hess.
Yeah.
And to be able to, kind of whisper in one of their ears and Hartford too, quite honestly, and to say, when we were having conversations with CNH, because we were hearing a lot of stuff from Hess, we kind of knew that if not that our customer would necessarily be untruthful to us, but we kind of knew if they said something and we could, we sort of could be able to play a little back and forth and go, was that really the case? Because I thought this was really that was going on. Because, everybody, unfortunately, in situations like that, everyone gets defensive and they don't want to they're afraid to kind of air out their dirty laundry.
But it's probably a little easier in your role. Well, not easier, but you've got a unique circumstance where you already have those established relationships, which no one else really would have that across the board, established relationships.
True.
Yeah.
And if CNH was our only customer, we still would have been able to provide counsel as a surety agent. To answer your question again, I think we can always add value because we can help our customer who's in a tough spot and
right.
with kind of giving them honest advice that sometimes they don't want to hear, but that they need to hear.
Right.
We had no involvement in Hess hiring CNH as the sub on that job, but the fact that happened and the fact that Hess was our customer was also helpful to us to kind of help, calm them down and get them to understand that, look, you don't need to, the surety company, again, as a surety professional, this is a perfect opportunity for the surety industry to show how surety bonds work and are successful in a claim. And so I think from that standpoint, that's where we helped kind of calming Hess down, also educating Hess on, look, if you want Hartford to perform and make certain decisions, this is what you're going to need to give them. And the way, and this is how they want to consume that information. Because if you put it in that format, they're going to be able to respond quicker. Yeah,
you could clarify the process and just make it easier for Hess, but also make it easier for the Hartford as you're both everyone's kind of moving through this situation.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I would say in the Hartford's case, we weren't writing checks or making decisions. Wasn't like we weren't vetting. Well, actually, Hartford did ask our opinion about, because we had, local knowledge being our agency, 80% of what we do is commercial construction. So we know the players in town. And so we knew the backgrounds on all the three mechanical subs that were bidding. So we could give Hartford some insight into those three. And also, we know Company A does a lot of MCPS work, Company B, they do some, but they do other things. So we kind of helped give Hartford a little bit of a feel for the severity of the situation and the fact that at the end of the day, it's not acceptable to say, okay, well, sorry, we tried our best, and the school's going to open in November. I mean, that's that was just not an acceptable situation.
I wouldn't want to be at that PTA meeting.
No, absolutely not.
Would not be fun. Yeah, that's definitely true. But it turned into a success in the end.
It did turn into a success, and it was a lot of people coming together and putting in a lot of hard work and a lot of hours. Steve Spencer, like I said, he was really running point from Insurance Associates involvement, and the adjuster at Hartford and Hess, and it all came together and worked out well.
Yeah,
it really showed that how, again, it's unfortunate because it's what looked like a very bad situation, but with the surety product being such a hard product to understand, sort of, and wrap your head around, that's a picture tells 1,000 words, right, Kat? And it was such a huge success, and that's what really reinforces the value of surety bonds.
Yeah, I that point you just made is just incredible because it's true. It really shows why it's so important to have those bonds in place.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes. I mean, it's everyone just thinks it's a piece of paper and a file, and unfortunately, it is until it's not. And then when it's not, it's really it's people. It's the people behind the paper who need to come together and figure out, okay, how do we solve this problem, and how do we do it in a way where what's the right outcome at the end is get the project built, right?
Right.
And so how do we get to that outcome without without getting everybody all defensive and lawyered up and all of it? And then, once you start going down that road, then everyone's they don't look at the project anymore. They're like, okay, how do I minimize my exposure here?
Well, and in this situation, even more than others, I would imagine that time frame had a concrete and very limited frame.
Correct.
Based on a school year.
Exactly. Yeah.
You might not be up against that hard a deadline with another project necessarily, but
probably not. I mean, if it was, if you're building a, office building, I mean, there's different kind of pressure, because then if it was an office building, you'd had a landlord that, wants rent rolls to start because they've got financing payments that they need to make. And so, but it's not a PT, you can, it's easier to tell a private owner, sorry, you have to wait a month to collect rent than telling the moms and dads their kids can't go to school, or we're going to be, sending them somewhere else temporarily.
Angry parents aren't easy.
Correct.
I'm sure every teacher out there would agree with us on that one.
Absolutely.
Well, is there anything you'd like to say just in wrapping up that story, Aldo? And
I just bond more,
Bond more, yeah.
Again, it's, it's great. It's great insurance. Surety bonds are not insurance, but for the most people out there that don't know what surety bonds, I always tell them it's the least expensive insurance that you can pay for to ensure that you have a successful project.
Okay. Well, we've been trying this fun little piece at the end of each of the episodes. And so I'm just going to ask you a question, Aldo. What keeps you up at night?
Wow. Well, that's an interesting question, Kat. Let's see, we've been talking about schools. So let's see. I think about my kids. I've got my two daughters that live in New York City. So I guess what keeps me up at night with them is, I hope they're making good decisions and working hard, and it'd be nice if they, it'd be nice if they call me every now and then. I always wake up in the morning and say, maybe they'll call today and say, I love you, Dad, instead of send cash.
Well, if you girls are listening, call your dad. Well, it was great talking to you, Aldo. We'll have to invite you back again for another episode.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for joining us for Talk Surety to Me.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.